Hi everyone, thanks for joining us for this edition of CSS Breakpoint. Myself and Skulk. We'll be just chatting for the next hour or so about anchor positioning. And just a reminder, we have another event on Monday where I will be talking about Figma organization and scaling within your design teams. That's on Meetup as usual, also in our Discord. And we'll also be live on our YouTube channel and on LinkedIn. We've posted all the relevant events there. Yeah, so today we're going to chat about anchor positioning, and I'll just hand over to Skulk just to do a quick thanks and introduction.
Yeah, cool. Right. Let me quickly share my screen and then we can get into it. All right. Yeah, so a couple. So we've been doing a couple of these, and they have been very generously sponsored by a company that I do contract work for, called Pattern. So yeah, they kind of tend to sponsor these, but like on and off. For them, basically, they actually just like the fact that we're doing this, and because like I have some personal relationships with them. They are keen to just like pay for kind of like a lot of the overheads. We are a non-profit, but there are some overheads in terms of like actually the streaming service that we're using and hosting things, and even stuff like transcription or even other stuff like auditing. If you're a nonprofit, you need to get audited, and that costs money and stuff. So so they are one of the teams that actually help out with that a bit. So thanks to them. The others are obviously NML that Justin works for, and IO that Liesel is involved with a bit as well. So check them out, support them. Cool. All right, so as Justin mentioned, we are going to be talking about anchor position today. So it's probably worth mentioning that if you haven't checked it out, Anchorium is the place to be.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, Justin, maybe if you just want to resize it so the screen is a bit bigger, so we are down in the corner. If you've played Flexbox Froggy or CSS Grid Garden or any of this stuff, it's the same company called CodePip. They actually do lots of these little kind of like games to learn CSS and HTML.
They've got some great things.
It's really cool. Not a lot of people know about this. But yeah,
Scott, I'm just gonna sorry, Scott. I'm just gonna actually remove us quick for a couple of minutes from the screen because we can't see the bottom part.
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't necessarily want to show anything specific on it. I just wanted to kind of give a shout out to that if you are interested in anchor position. I think we are maybe going to be talking about it at a bit of a higher level in terms of what problems does it actually solve. But if you're interested in the technical implications and how to technically use it and so forth, this is probably the resource. It's I would have loved to say that I read the spec to learn it. I did read the spec, but I only read the spec after I played around with it here, and then I was like, "Hey, this is pretty neat." And then I started reading the spec.
Exactly the same for me. Yeah, I discovered this first.
Yes. So check it out. All right. So to me, I think the big question always is, okay, so let's maybe just start from square one. What is anchor position? Okay, and so if we, think about the crux of what it is, it's you have something and you want something else to stand in relation to it somehow. So let's say you want it to be next to it or whatever, and you want it to, surprise, be anchored. So in other words, if this thing moves, it moves along with it and it retains the position. Or if this thing, and a lot of times like this would be like toggled, so this thing would be toggled on and off. And so you can think about something like a tooltip or whatever. So let's say hello world, and let's say you hover over world, then you maybe want a bit of a tooltip to show. And obviously you don't want to just go, let's just say, like tooltip or whatever, you don't want to like just go. So obviously, you probably have something like position flexed or something, fixed position fixed or whatever, and you don't want to like manually go. Let's say 100. Let's say 10
Yeah,
rem and top like 5, because you don't know where this thing is going to be.
exactly.
And
And as soon
even
as
if
any kind of screen
exactly, and even if you did know,
changes, yeah,
yes, yeah,
which
even
is
if you did
why
know. Mm.
which is why 100% of the time we reach for some JavaScript library to do a tooltip.
Yes. And so I have
Yeah.
a story about this. I have a story about when was it? So when I started working way back for Open Up. Um, so this was around like I think 2016 maybe, and then they were still called like Code for South Africa actually. So when I started there, they didn't really have much of a front end team per se. It was mostly like Python developers just doing a bit of front end. So they kind of hired me initially to really kind of start spearheading like full on like front end stuff. Um, and like so most of everything was just like bootstrap and just libraries and whatever. There was no custom CSS. And like so I obviously came in and I was like, okay, like a lot of the stuff can be stripped out. Like you can really, and also because at the time we like the target for a lot of the projects that we were tackling were kind of lower income people. So it was also a non-profit and was aimed about like facilitating civic engagement and also like civil education and so forth. And so obviously you also wanted to get your bundle sizes and stuff as small as possible. So the first thing I started doing is like stripping out libraries and whatever. And I was like, yeah, they're using this library called Popper.js for like, Justin laughs because like Popper.js is probably the one constant in like every front end developer's life for the last decade.
I think it's actually part of Bootstrap.
Yes, yes, that's actually part of Material UI as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
really? Yeah.
yes. Let's actually. I want to see the amount of. Is it Is it the one with the dot? Let me just quickly see. Popper core. I actually just want to see. Let's see like the like even the deprecated one is 4 million downloads a week. Yeah, look at this, 11 million downloads. Okay, so yeah, it's basically used like, and I think if you want to understand what anchor positioning does, I think like Popper.js is actually a really good visualization in terms of
Yeah.
actually because at the yeah, and here's why not pure CSS, but like all of this is obviously written with like the idea in mind that like this is obviously written in a world where anchor positioning doesn't exist, and
Yeah.
to a degree, quote unquote, it still doesn't exist because it's not fully supported yet. But it's gonna like WebKit's already working on it, and Firefox is already working on it, so it's gonna drop universally pretty soon. At the moment, it works in all Chromium browsers. But yeah, so I think this is. I wonder if there's like a demo or something. I think this should give you a very good idea of
Yeah. If you
yeah.
go to
But anyway,
the,
yes.
I think if you go to the repo, no,
On GitHub.
I think there's a demo there.
Oh, float. Oh, they also renamed it to Floating UI.
Yeah.
And yeah, but that might also be. I don't know. Like it might also be that they're kind of seeing the what's coming and they probably want to build on top of that abstraction.
Yeah.
But honestly, just looking at this, like this is like like span left or span right, and I can already see the exact equivalence for
In
anchor positioning. Yes. Okay,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
these are actually phenomenal examples for what anchor positioning does for you. Okay, so a big
Yes.
problem with this type of thing and why you need a library is, let's say you have as mentioned, let's say you have a tooltip. Sure, okay. Let's take a very naive implementation, and let's say you have your actual target that it is applied to, and let's just say like you do position relative, and then you have the actual tooltip which is then position absoluted. um,
Mhm.
and you just say, okay, I want it to be attached to the bottom, 100%, so it shifts it all the way down, and I want it to be in the left corner. So
Yeah.
well, let's actually do it the other way around. Like the tooltip should go above, and yeah, let's go. This is very very weird tooltip that sits like it's going to sit in the
On the
corner of the
left.
word. But yeah, and like so, I came and I'm like, this Popper JS stuff, like, man, let's strip this out. Like, what a waste of like actual, JavaScript and like resources and whatever. And this is one of those things. There's been a couple of these in my career where I was like, okay, this is a very easy job, and I kind of started diving into it. And then at some point, I was like, I'm about to end my career. Like I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to make a career change. This thing has broken me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this like
I,
tooltip is
well,
one of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there as well.
Yes.
Why are we using JavaScript for this? I can do it in CSS, and then
Yes.
like adding data attributes on,
Yes.
and then pulling that in through a pseudo
Yes.
element and getting all fancy. And then
Yes.
you're like, oh,
Yeah.
but someone just
Yes.
resized their browser.
Yes. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about like from a design perspective, just like actually conceptually, like all the things you
Right.
need to
Yeah.
take into account. The other one for me
Yes.
is form validation. Form validation was also one of those things that seems so easy. And then you start implementing it and you're like, wait, like I'm starting to lose my grip on what should happen when and why. There was this actually, have you seen that? It's sorry, this is somewhat of a tangent, but I'm going to make it really short. There was this Slack notification flowchart shared like maybe 3-4 years ago. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
I have seen this.
And you're like, oh no, this is ridiculous. I don't want to go on X, but I guess we have to now. All right.
Open image in new tab.
Chloe in Wonderland. Nice. Okay. Oh, what? Okay. Okay. That was painful. All right. So, okay. So basically, you're like, at face value, it's like, how? Okay, cool. Just a notification on Slack. If you add someone, or when should you get notified? How hard can this be? Like, it's probably just like three if else statements. And
Yeah.
but then you see this thing, should someone be notified or not? And
Yeah.
once you start working through this, you realize all of this is valid. Like everything, like it's like, oh yeah, you have to take this into account. You have to take this into account. Oh yeah, like this is actually a thing. This is actually a thing. And it's the same I find for tooltips as well. It's like you think it's
Yeah.
super easy, and then you start running into, oh yeah, but there's this thing. Oh yeah, and then that thing.
Exactly. I
Yes.
was looking at the interop before we started this quickly this morning, and the amount of properties that
Yeah.
exist in CSS that have to be taken into account to make this work
Yes.
is insane. Every single positioning property, every single logical property, widths, heights, inset, positioning, display, aligning, align self, it all has to be taken into account to make this work.
And I want to say, like, even like a library like Popper or whatever has the benefit of existing in a pre-logical properties world. So like this still also exists in a world where you have left and you have right and you have top and you have bottom, with the kind of the new CSS logical properties, which is kind of like a very big paradigm shift in terms of how we think about laying out our components. I think we did a session on that if you guys want to check it out.
Yeah, we did.
But then like it's also okay, but there is no such thing as left or right. It depends on like if you're
writing modes,
like your writing mode, like is this Mandarin, is this like Hebrew, is this Arabian, whatever, and so like it's very interesting. So one of my other clients, which is very, so we and like just to come back to logical properties, so we at the moment we are kind of a dashboard for people, that third-party sellers on Takealot and whatever. We're kind of, at the moment, we're in the process of like, we're kind of 90% of the way there, of actually having it a central place for your Amazon, your Shopify, and your WooCommerce stuff.
Wow,
But
that's
it's interesting.
amazing.
You would be surprised how many, like, people, because it's interesting, because we're running Sentry. And in Sentry, you obviously, when a bug or an error or something happens, you can actually see a playback.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many people are actually using not Google Translate, but the thing in your browser where, if you click on this, or like, and it has that pop-up of like, this site seems to be in French or whatever, do you want to translate it? How many people like translate it to like some Eastern language? Like, like
Interesting.
Mandarin or whatever. I don't know. Is
Yeah.
Mandarin the written one as well? I know Mandarin's the spoken one. Is it like the same name for both? But
I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I'm bearing my ignorance for everyone to see. But
Me
yeah, you'd
too.
be surprised. And so that might very well be someone who is actually selling on Takealot, but they are
Yeah.
based in China or whatever.
Yeah. Mm.
And they have someone down here who's actually distributing their items, but like so oftentimes, like, you'd be surprised like how many people like you like come to your site and like kind of want to see things left, right, or whatever flipped around. But
Yeah.
anyway, we're not going to talk about logical properties, but I also just want to say that's kind of a completely different dimension, and this doesn't even take that into account, whereas the native implementation does.
Yes.
But even just like, basically, if we look at a naive implementation, like, even just, so you have a tooltip. So what happens if you scroll past? Okay, so
Mm.
here it just moves it around. Okay, so it moves it to the bottom. And you can do this with CSS anchor positioning. You can tell it where to, if it runs out of space, where to try and move it next. Yeah. And also like this type of thing. I don't know if, like, I actually don't know if you can do arrows with anchor positioning. Can you?
You
I don't think
can.
so. Can
No,
you?
you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't actually know that. But also, like, the position of the like, as you scroll or as you resize, like, obviously that should adjust. And they don't have an example here, so I'll quickly draw it out. But so I'm thinking about, like, so my first thought when I started playing with anchor position was two existing pieces of code that is a nightmare that I'm going to try and replace with anchor position when full support comes. So there's two. I don't want to like actually show the interfaces because I don't want to break any NDAs or whatever. But so there is a product that I work on where we have like this is all like very intense like dashboards, for like ERP systems and whatever, stock management and kind of like getting like aggregated information about like very big data sets or whatever. So the controls are quite excessive. So you might click on one control and it would like literally what it would provide you is, something that takes up almost half of the screen. But then it's also like the thing, okay, what happens if you start scrolling down? Does it just like chop off your controls? What happens if you resize your screen? Like, does it resize this thing along with it, or
Yeah.
and stuff like that? Or
Hmm.
what was the other one? Okay, so this one is already, we have some issues here. Then there's another product that I'm working on where we have a table, and like the table is actually, it's a virtual table, so you can go sideways as well, and obviously you can go all the way down, and like you can click on individual cells to update them. So I were to click on this cell and I would get a little like super small pop over that's like where I enter the value, and I can say
Right.
save or
Yeah.
cancel. And the reason why you want like just some level of a kind of intermediate step is because it's very easy to accidentally edit something if you can just click and start editing. I despise those interfaces where it's like cells or whatever, and I just click there and I immediately start editing. And
Excuse me.
the other
Yeah.
thing is as well is not only that, but like what happens if I now scroll away? You know,
Mm.
like is this still being edited? When does this get saved? You know, does this get saved if I stop typing? You know, but then what if I start typing and I'm like, actually, I don't. I want to go back to what it was. What then? So it's just easier having like a little small overlay that someone clicks, it starts automatically focused. They type it and they press enter to commit it. But the big problem there is, what if you are, let's say this is your screen. What if the cell that you're clicking is literally there in the little corner?
Mm.
Okay, then if we decided that thing pops up over here, then it kind of chops off.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
not visible anymore.
now you need to figure out, cool, okay, like where does it
Yeah,
go now, and so forth. And
yeah.
that is
Mm.
really hard with JavaScript, which is
It is.
why, yeah, even if you don't do it with CSS. Okay, so first port of call is, okay, like there was no way to do this eloquently without JavaScript. But even if you
Hmm.
decide to do it with JavaScript, then like it's like also the JavaScript required is such a pain in the butt. And now you're also getting into measuring stuff, which can cause accidental reflows and whatever. That it's like even someone like Material UI, or as you mentioned, Bootstrap, don't even write their own implementation of this. Like
Mm.
they use Popper.js under the hood. I'm pretty sure about that. Yes, there you
Yeah.
go. Okay, and Material UI is not a basic. Material UI has a lot of advanced stuff in. So the fact that they decided to use a third-party library for this kind of shows you how hard of a problem this is to actually
Hmm.
solve meaningfully. So in short, this was a very long explanation, but as Justin mentioned, like if you look at the spec or you look at it on MDN, it feels like it's really complicated. The spec, there's like so much stuff, so many properties and values that you can combine, and it seems almost excessively complex. But
Yeah.
it's similar to this. Is like, yeah, but then you start actually working through what are all the things you need to take into consideration, and then it's like, oh, okay, it makes sense that it's this complicated. Yeah. So
Exactly.
Justin, I don't know if you prepared any example or you have anything you want to show. Otherwise, I can quickly throw something together and we can talk about it.
Scott, I thought we could just go through that,
And
through
Corium.
the, no, the Una Kravitz article,
Oh, I don't even know about that. Is it
introducing the
just?
CSS anchor positioning API. Yeah,
That's not a
you should
bad
find it.
idea.
It's on Google. It's on developer.chrome.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, that
All
one.
right. Okay, I just see there's a note that some of the syntax has changed.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, it's currently supported in Chrome and also Edge, which is a Chromium browser, um,
Yes.
and not Firefox or WebKit. But correct me if I'm
They
wrong. It
are
is. They both committed to working on it right now.
they are working on it. Yeah,
They
they're
are working on
already
it right
logging
now.
bugs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Cool.
I checked into Op this morning and they haven't done anything yet. It's all red and
Mm,
marked as bugs. So there's nothing that's been completed yet for those two, but they
yes.
are working on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
seems like my backlog at work as well.
All of us. Yeah.
If you look at my Jira board, it's like, yeah, I get that. Like, it's very likely that you're 99% of the way there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just nothing to
Exactly.
show yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
And
okay, cool.
everyone's giving you a hard time on GitHub because you
Yeah,
haven't
like
done it
not
yet.
seeing any progress. Yeah. Okay. So cool. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
quickly skim through this, and you let me know.
Yeah.
Or do you want to work through this?
No. We can do it together. I think. Yeah. I
Okay.
think
Oh,
this
you
just to
haven't
note
read it in
there.
depth.
Sorry.
Have you kind of worked through this already?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
but
So,
let's
but
just
you
go
can
through
guide
slowly.
me. Yes.
There's
Mm.
lots of interesting stuff. Yeah. So I think the
Okay.
first two things there is anchor name and position anchor are the two
Mm.
main
Mm.
properties that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Um,
Can I
and
quickly ask you, how weird does those two dashes feel to you? It feels wrong to me.
the two dashes.
Yes. So do you not have to or is this an Anchorium thing? Like where I think they don't actually make this clear.
No, that's just a variable. Yeah, it's a custom
Oh,
property.
really? So okay, I should maybe do a PR.
Yeah.
They mentioned, and I thought it had
Oh,
something to
that.
do.
Oh, sorry,
Yes,
sorry, sorry.
yes,
That. Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
No, you
So
have to do that. You have to
yes,
do that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, cool. Okay, so I
So I
wasn't losing my
also
mind.
no,
So
no, you're
you
not.
have to go anchor. What is it? Anchor name, right?
Anchor dash name.
Yes, and then you have to go like YOLO or whatever, which
Yeah.
I guess is a nod to
Custom
you know,
properties.
yeah. So if you were to go root and you were to go other, or and
Yeah.
make it like, I don't know, let's just do
Yeah.
like a. So I get that, but I don't know. It feels super weird to me. I don't know how I feel about this, and it also feels like doesn't feel idiomatic to me because
Yeah.
I know you have to go um like
Bar.
this to, but it also it seems too similar to me. Like
I do agree.
I
It's
don't like it, but I'm also like, I think JSX has been the great humbler for me, and I think it's been the great humbler for everyone in the dev community, except the couple of holdouts who still think it's a bad idea. Um,
yeah.
but like JSX was also for me one of those things where I looked at it, I'm like, what is this crap? Like, what? Who the hell made this decision? Um, and like now I kind of get the like it clicks for me. It clicks for me in
Yeah.
terms of it's a way to express functions as XML. But so since then I've been very much like, okay, cool, like let me just, maybe this is a good idea. I'll give it some time. Maybe I feel that way about it in a year. But
Yeah.
my gut reaction is like, I don't. Why couldn't we just go? Why couldn't we just do what we do with
The
like
name, like we do with
view
grids, grid
view
named grid
transition?
areas.
Yeah, like view. What's a view transition name?
Yeah.
Yeah, or as you mentioned, like what is a grid name? Oh no, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Grid name.
yeah. So why? No,
Yeah.
it's
It's an
grid
odd
area. Grid
decision. I
area.
agree.
It's not grid
Sorry,
area.
grid area.
Yes.
No.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
don't know, and haven't been able to find anything online about it. It
Yeah.
just seems so strange, and I can't see a reason.
There's
It feels
probably
like a bad
a
decision. Yeah.
there's probably a 5,000 comment GitHub discussion on it in the
Discussion.
working group.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but
Yes.
but I do agree with you. It is odd, and it doesn't. So in the article, the
Yes.
that we were looking at, they just gloss over it. Yeah. If you
Yes.
scroll down a little bit,
Yes.
just say
They do it, but
there,
yes.
much like a CSS variable. It's that's it. Yeah.
But to me, that's the problem. It's not a variable.
It's a CSS variable. Exactly.
So the problem to me is that like that's exactly the problem. So the problem is like this looks way too similar, and they are fundamentally ontologically two different things.
They are.
They
are.
I don't know. Okay, sure. Maybe there's something that's coming up that those that are working on the spec maybe have some informed knowledge in terms of what's coming down the pipe. But whereas where we're standing at right now, it just seems like why it doesn't make any
odd
sense.
naming convention. Yeah.
Yes.
If I'm feeling brave in the next week or so, and I have some time, I'll see if I can dig out
Go for
it.
Go for it. Yeah, I don't know. Like everything else in this API seems really well designed. So I guess you have to give them the benefit of the doubt that, like, there's a reason for this. But yeah, as you mentioned, they just mention it and they don't say why. Okay. But yeah, so basically this is you have to name the thing that you want to attach it to, correct?
Yes, that's right.
So this anchor button, this would be this blue thing. It would be the thing that it's going to be anchored to.
Yeah. Yes. And then the
Mhm.
positioned element you attach to that just by position name.
Yes.
And that name that you've given the
position anchor. This, yeah.
Yeah. Can you scroll down a little bit? Our faces are in
Yes.
the way. Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah, and this is it. Basically, like with this. Yeah. Sorry, everyone's just walking past my.
Don't worry.
It's like, yeah. Um,
Yeah, and then you
complete
can also
disregard for the
shorthand.
fact that I'm doing a live stream. But anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can also shorthand it. Yeah, I don't like shorthand generally. I think because now if I want to change something, I've got to change the whole thing. You know what? Do you know what I mean? I like to. Maybe I'm old-fashioned that way, but I like to. It's just a personal preference.
Yeah, I feel that way. I don't feel that way about CSS. I feel that way about JavaScript. Though, is
I
like,
feel that way about both.
yeah, well, yeah, but like because I think I generally find because CSS is declarative, it's a bit easier to read. But my argument
Yeah,
in
sure.
JavaScript is like you should always prioritize readability over how ease of writing, because you yourself and everyone else is going to spend way more time reading this than writing this. So it doesn't help if you save yourself half a second when writing it, but it ends up like being an extra second to read it, and that's going to add up, and you're only going to write it once and people are going to read it through like the next 10 years or whatever. But anyway,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so like this kind of maps to left, center, right, top, center. So where do you want it to be anchored?
So it's interesting here that they are using that top right, bottom left notation.
Yes, and not the logical properties.
But as we'll see later, you can also use those. So,
yes.
So again, something to just bear in mind, as you mentioned, Skulk, noticing in your century or whatever that people are changing the language. If you're using right, it's going to stay on the right. So just something to bear in mind.
Yes, and like they also, and I think this is similar to REM as well. I think like one important thing is because I saw the exact same thing happening with pixels and REMs, where everyone was just like, "Oh, this is the new way now. I'm just gonna grep, all my left." Replace it all, so like so I know a lot of people had like post CSS stuff where it just converted your pixel stuff to rem and whatever, and like to me that's insanity. Like the whole point is these are two different things to express the intent. I'm not gonna, my borders are always going to be pixels because the size of my border shouldn't change depending on how big the font size is. A 1 pixel border is still a 1 pixel border, no matter how
quite
big.
Right.
And like
we are in absolute agreement on this.
Yes. So, and it's the same here. It's the same here.
Border radius with an M value.
Like that's insanity, and it's going to be like 0.04, and it's going to be like a sub pixel, and it's going to render weird and whatever,
and look different across browsers.
Yes. So, but like I think the key point here is similar to that. This doesn't mean you should just go for logical properties like all the time. Like there might be a case where you want it to actually be left, regardless of what writing mode someone uses. Okay. Or you want it to be above so regardless of, so think about, like to me the general rule of thumb is think about like how someone would process this. Would they actually be like, this is the thing and this thing comes after that thing, instead of having to do with the actual position.
Quite right,
but anyway, yes. So and the logical properties way to do this, I think, is the same that you have for inset, right?
Just a bit further down,
Oh, it's actually mentioned.
They do have it here. It's further down on the. It's further down on the page.
Is it? What is okay? So well, so first and foremost, what is I'm not familiar with this anchor kind of function thing there. What is this?
So that's
I see. I use when I used position. I think it's called placement or something.
Yes, that is another option.
So then you don't have to.
You don't have to then specify that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it place? placement. No, it's not. It's anchor placement. Sorry, anchor.
Sorry,
Was it
anchor
anchor
placement.
positioning? Anchor position. Let's see. Yeah, position anchor. Sorry, like I went through all permutations of this and I got it wrong. It's position anchor.
That's right. That then allows you to say where
Yes.
that is in relation to. Yeah.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Is this where you can go like top left or whatever? No, I'm getting confused again. Let me just quickly see. Okay, maybe. No, it is anchor position, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you can go anchor position or position anchor, whichever one it was, and say like left, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do this rapid and this kind of what seems like an anchor function. Is that correct?
Yeah. If you scroll down a little bit, there's an illustration of that. Yeah. So you see the anchor up a bit.
Yes.
There, that you see there, anchor top, anchor right, etc.
Okay. Yes.
So that's how you can align, just
yeah,
at the edge, basically. Yeah, if you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So the bottom of your item is positioned at the top of your anchor when you say bottom. If I'm making sense.
I see. Okay.
So the bottom of my positioned element should be at the top of my anchor.
I see. Okay, so these
and the
are
right of my element should be on the right of my anchor.
So this isn't two. Okay. So this isn't two ways to do the exact same thing.
No,
it's actually you're actually. So it's not a different syntax. It is like you're actually positioning something different. So you can either decide your position from the perspective of the thing that's being anchored, or you can decide your position from the perspective of the anchor. Okay, I see. And so this
so there for bottom, if instead of anchor top, you could put that in the center so it appears halfway over something or whatever it might be. You see that anchor center is another option.
Absolute positioning, to use the positioning values, position absolute, your positioned element, then use the anchor function to apply positioning values, for example. Cool. All right. Okay. Awesome. So, center a positioned element at the anchor center. Okay. Yes.
Sorry. Up a little bit. Sorry.
Yes.
There are the logical properties. Yes. They're exactly the same as the ones we know.
Yes. Okay. And obviously this assumes what they would be if you are using kind of a Latin language. Yes.
A Latin language, yes.
Yes. Cool. All right. So then
this is just you can also use alignment properties. So without having to change the display, which is interesting. Like there's no display flex there.
Yes. Would this be for the content inside the anchor? Would it be for the anchor itself?
There's a new. It's for the anchor. No, what is it for? No, it's for positioning the actual positioned element. Yeah.
In relation.
In relation to the anchor. Yeah. So this is
okay. Sorry. I see. This is justify self. Okay, I read this as justify content.
Yeah, justify self. Yeah.
So it's not because I was like, how the hell how does this work? Okay. So this is as if this is a flex, or and you can use
like
the
if we imagine that is actually in a container of itself, the whole thing, which it's not. That has a display flex, then it would be applying that property.
Yes,
so I think this is very interesting to me that this is happening here, because I don't know if you've read about it at all, Scott, but all the align properties, justify self, justify whatever, are going to be applicable to block elements as well. So this is obviously
about that.
So that's going to happen, yeah. So now with block. To align something, it's difficult. So I imagine this is building on that work that's already been done but hasn't been released yet. Yes. Can you imagine how that could break backward compatibility? But anyway, So it's really interesting, and this is something we've mentioned before. How modern CSS is all interconnected and building on stuff that's happening elsewhere.
Yes. Yeah, and like it's one of those things that like it's it's almost like that thing about the dog catching the car, where it's like, yeah, we've wanted more advanced ways to do layouts for such a long
Yes.
time,
Yeah,
and now we have
exactly.
it, and my immediate reaction is like, oh crap, like when am I gonna have time to learn all of this? I
I
don't want
know.
this anymore.
I know. I
Can
still
we go
don't
back
know.
to bootstrap grids?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
still don't know
okay.
how to work with what subgrid means. Anyway,
Yes. Elements can be tethered to more than one anchor. So would this be that if you correct me if I'm wrong here, because I did see this, I did see that you can specify several anchors. And so my assumption would be that, let's say you anchor to this thing and you anchor to that thing, that it'll be like, I don't know, between the two, or like how.
no, it's the other way around. So if you've got
Okay. So if you
if
have a
you've got,
single thing, you can have two
oh,
floating things, or what?
no. Sorry, you are right.
Yes.
Sorry, my mistake. Your first thing is right. Yeah.
Yes. Because I know you can
Um,
do this. You can have like one thing anchored to it and another thing anchored to it, like let's say at the bottom or
yes.
whatever. And this seems,
Yeah,
I don't know why you want to do this, but you can do this. But
you
then I've
can.
seen stuff that
That's one I'm not
alludes
sure. I'm not sure. Yeah.
this.
Honestly. No, the second one, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So
The first
this,
one, I'm not so sure. They do
am I
speak about it,
reading it?
multiple anchors. There's an example.
Yes. Yeah, cool. No, here it is. Like here it is.
Oh,
Okay.
right. Okay.
Okay, so it's gonna
Yes.
stretch it. It's gonna stretch it
Yeah.
between. This is
Interesting.
so wild, man. Like, wow. Okay, so it's gonna.
But why would
Damn.
you do it?
I
I
the
can't
same
see a
way
use
you would
case.
do a. The same way you would use a flex grow, I assume.
Maybe, but then why wouldn't I just use that?
Yeah, it's very hard to think about this without actually seeing real examples. I guess it's if you want something where you would.
Oh, okay. I can think of a use case.
Yes, I can also think about a use case. You wanna go first?
Yeah, so you might have two actions that need to be done on the same kind of element, and you want to attach those actions, but they do different things.
Okay. So the one that I'm thinking about is something like React Flow or whatever, because we
Oh,
are
yes. Yeah.
exclusively thinking about. I think, and this is kind of like the problem always when you get presented with new tools, is you think about it in your existing paradigm. So I think there's
Yeah.
a danger here to think about it exclusively um, as tooltips or overlays or whatever.
Yeah.
But I can very easily see how you would use it for something like this,
Yeah. Very
where
good
you want
point.
to
Yeah.
have the lines be actual anchors. So
Yeah.
this line is anchored to this and that. And it just
Mm.
keeps the position. It stretches accordingly and whatever. Okay, this
Yeah.
is really cool. I like this. So you can just
Okay.
imagine this blue thing is just a line
Yeah.
instead
And if you
of.
move something,
Yes.
if the
Yeah.
line move or elements move, they still are attached to each other in a visual
Because
way.
yes. This is cool. This is really cool. I see a lot of cases where you would also be able to do stuff like, oh, you want to crop a photo or whatever. Cool. Yeah. So inset area. Okay. Cool. This is what you spoke about.
Yeah. So this is just another
Yeah.
way of positioning. Yeah.
Yes. And this is what
Um,
I've mostly been. This is what I've been using, which is why this anchor. This
oh,
has
with the
kind of thrown
position.
me a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Because with,
I've been using,
yeah.
because I'm already familiar with the inset kind of like
Yeah.
syntax. So
I
it's
think
just
that
way more natural for me to do this.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Because
think
you can
insets.
also do top. You can also do top and left and whatever for
Yes,
insets. Yeah.
you can top or logical properties. I think
Mm.
insets is quite an unused thing that not a lot of people know about it, actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's super useful. If you're not aware of it, just check it out. It's like makes your positioning
Mm.
much easier.
I think the reason why it's not being used that much, and I don't always use it, I'm familiar with it, and I think the reason why it doesn't get used that much is because, like the like the what it gives you isn't that powerful, and then having
No,
to have a polyfill or something purely just to be able to like type something in a single line instead of two lines doesn't seem like a good trade-off.
true.
So I think, yeah, once it's like, and I think because of that people didn't start using it before it became widely available.
Yeah,
And now this is
I
widely
think you're
available. It's kind of
absolutely
flown
right.
under the radar a bit.
Yeah, probably.
Because stuff like, like stuff like Flexbox or whatever, like it's just such a game changer that you would pull in like some JavaScript polyfill to use it. I
Yes.
think this never
Mm.
justified, so no one used it before. Yeah, you could actually. Um, yeah. Okay. Anchor size. I actually don't know what this does. Is this the same
It's
as
just to size. It's just to size.
like calc? Okay.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can
okay.
just
So you want
you
to do a
can
calculation based on the anchor.
on the anchor. Yeah,
So this
dangerous. I wouldn't do this. As you can see in the
really.
example, it's cut off.
Mm, oh, I see. Yeah, I wouldn't do it for max height,
No.
but are there other use cases where you would do this?
Well, max width would be good, but
Mm.
perhaps. But I'm not convinced, honestly, by this one.
Yes.
Um,
So the use case that I can maybe think of is you maybe want to animate it. So you want to
true,
have it like
true.
slide open when someone
Yeah, yeah,
hovers or
true.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
But you don't know, sorry, you don't know how far it needs to slide when it
yeah.
animates.
Mm,
So I see it for that kind of thing.
yeah.
Pop over dialogue. Ooh, I
Yeah.
didn't even think about popovers and dialogue.
Yeah, so this is just
Uh,
a section on how you can use it in conjunction with those, um, which is pretty cool.
how like does it require anything from you? Um,
Um, so look, I would be a little bit wary about this at the moment. I haven't looked
mm,
into it in detail,
mm,
but as soon as you're hooking into a native HTML um,
mm,
property like dialog or popover, you are hooked into user agent styles.
mm,
And you're probably going to have to do a whole lot of overwriting
yeah.
to make this
Mm.
effective. I think they do. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do
Yeah,
have
they
the.
say we
They
centered them
do
in the
say,
viewport
yeah,
by
yeah, yeah, yeah,
default. Yeah,
yeah,
I think this once again. I think this is a massive design mistake, but
I
it is what
agree.
it is, and it might just be because they've started working on this so long ago
Yeah,
that by the time it was ready, they didn't want to go back to the drawing board. But I think like how opinionated dialogues are, like to me, in terms of their styling, to me is a massive design shortcoming. But
yeah. So
it
you
is.
can
I'm not
style them.
writing the
You
spec,
can.
so
No,
no.
no, me neither. You can
Yeah,
style them, but it's you've got to do a
you have to
lot to
override.
get
You
to
have
do
to
it. You have to
override.
override everything.
Yeah, and it kind of
Yeah,
felt like we're past that point where
yeah,
things should have. I thought that was a debate that was settled. Things should have semantic meaning with as little, like thinking about unordered lists or
yeah. Exactly.
detail lists or whatever. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
yeah,
and even like inheritance on things like that, like things that are
yeah,
stylistic, shouldn't be a thing. But anyway,
yeah,
that's a whole
yeah. So
other.
it kind of felt like this is kind of like CSS has made its own bed in this regard, and and we have to
I
sleep in it now. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is really cool.
Yes. So this is what I spoke about. Where if it cuts off, where should it
Then you
try and go
just
next?
yeah, so you just give
Yes.
it a fallback. Yeah,
Yes.
super
Yes. Yes.
super
Yes.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, they don't have an example here of it.
no, no,
Do they?
no, they do. Scroll down a
Further
bit.
down.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Alternate position.
Man, like
Again, it's
CSS.
super weird syntax.
Yeah, CSS. And like what's interesting is um we are probably going to need to get some type of static analysis on our CSS in our code editors. eventually, because
Yeah.
like it's no longer just you're establishing so many dependencies that like you need some way to meaningfully interpret those dependencies and also inspect them. So I would want to
Yeah.
be like, okay, control click on this, control click on this, control, and go deeper into, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
which is interesting. Okay. But yeah, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, this scares me looking at it, but uh,
Uh,
what do I
I
know?
agree.
But yeah, I don't like this at all because it kind of looks like
Yeah.
it looks like a conditional query, but then it doesn't have the
Well,
brackets and
exactly, because
like,
that's what we use. I mean, it is a conditional query in a sense because
yeah,
it's
but where are my
going if
brackets?
this.
Yeah. Why like
Yeah.
why didn't they just, in the same way that they went with like at feature, why didn't they just go at position and
Yeah.
then in brackets you say where?
Yeah.
But
That would make way
I
more
have
sense.
to
But
assume they are aware of a lot of other stuff that's
yeah.
coming down the pipe, as you mentioned,
Hmm.
with the align self and all of that. That they're like, cool. If we do it that way, it's going to cause a lot of problems later
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Anyway,
Um,
they've got a cool example. If you scroll down, there's
mm,
a little video.
yeah. And so to me, this is the big selling point of anchor
Yeah.
position. If this is the only thing that we got from anchor position, like to me, this is like 90% of it for me. And this is what things like Popper and so forth effectively just do. It just
Yeah.
ensures that your thing is always on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Um.
really cool.
Not yeah, that's really it is really cool. But there's the way this flip auto flip. I don't know if you've seen
Mm.
these. This seems like a way better way to do.
So just flipping from top to bottom or left to right. You can even skip the step of creating and use the built-in browser supported flip keyword. What? I don't even know about flip, block, and flip. What is this?
This I have only heard of them for the first time when I started reading about anchor positioning.
Makes two of us. Work as a stand-in. Position, try, flip. What is this thing?
It's
I literally get a WordPress plugin and a Super Mario wiki, and
yeah.
what? It's
Uh,
literally the only thing is like a can I use, and it's not supported in Safari. Yeah, I
no,
guess
because
I guess this is a Chrome tutorial, so in their world it is supported.
this is the thing, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
really cool though. I mean, it's just
Yes.
one line and
Yeah.
go do
And it
this.
makes
Yeah.
total sense. Like
Yeah.
you just want to know what happens if it goes off the top or the bottom
Yeah.
or off the left or the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is cool. Like I didn't even
You
read this, but just like kind of like literally just quickly looking at the code example, it's super clear to me what this does.
yeah.
Um,
And there's the example, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Then it just flips down. I think like there's actually yeah, the Popper JS also actually supports this.
It's
So
exactly the same, yeah.
it's actually basically this. Yeah,
Yeah, same
yeah,
thing. They
yeah. And
just
there's
have a really nice animation.
yes. Okay. Then oops. Okay. Yeah, this is really cool. In which you may
Yeah,
want to
then
anchor
yeah, this one just
sub-scroller.
tells you should the anchor be visible outside of something that has an overflow or hidden or
Mm,
whatever it might be.
mm. And this is where I start imagining like this type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, where it's like in I guess it's also no. There's also, I guess, a good case where if you have a tooltip and someone scrolls past the tooltip, should the tooltip still stick at the top of the screen
Yeah,
or um,
exactly.
yes. Oh,
Yeah,
here's an actual example.
yeah,
Um, okay, cool. All
yeah.
right.
And there's another one I think
No
with no
overflow.
overflow.
Yes. So the one,
With
if I understand correctly, the one is like if it's completely out of the screen, and the
yeah,
other one is if it starts going out of the screen. It's just
that's
like when
right.
should
Yeah,
it disappear? If it's
yeah.
partial or if it's completely. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like
Um,
this one is not visible at all.
yes. This just shows the other one where even if it starts touching, it's just like,
Yeah,
I'm out of
it's
here.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Polyfilling, ad
Uh,
support.
there- yeah, so you can do supports, and there is a CSS there is a polyfill by
Yeah,
Miriam.
Artbird is Miriam Suzanne, right? Is it
Yeah,
not? Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so there is that, and there's a link to how to use it and everything there.
Mm. Mm.
I don't know.
If you would
Polyfills,
polyfill this.
I don't know.
So I actually think most people will start using this in the same way that most people started using dialogue when the new version of Material UI shipped.
Yeah,
I'm
interesting.
convinced there's a crap load of people out there who don't even know what dialogue is, but they're using it. Just because they're using, for example, the Material UI or Bootstrap or whatever
Yeah,
popover
yeah,
or dialogue.
interesting.
Um,
Yeah,
and I've actually done some consulting work for a client where they had overlay or whatever, and they had a little help support widget on the side here. And when they and for some reason, all of a sudden, they don't know when it started happening. They couldn't track when the bug started happening. But if you have the overlay open, you can open the help thing, but you couldn't type, which was such a weird bug. And like, it was actually pretty straightforward to me. It's just like, okay, so MUI is now actually using dialogue under the hood, which does like focus capture instead of just a
right.
div styled. So I think so the reason why I'm telling that story is this doesn't mean that, okay, cool, yeah, I'm just going to start using it with like Material UI or whatever under the hood. I don't need to learn this because all abstractions are leaky by definition.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah,
law of leaky abstraction. So you're probably going to run into issues eventually because it uses this under the hood where things don't act the way or interact in ways that you want them to, and you're going to have to start digging into this. But yeah, my guess is most people are going to start using this just automatically from it being used in the higher level abstractions and libraries that they're using.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, accessibility. Mm, yeah, this would
Yes.
have been my
So,
thoughts as well. Like, I don't actually think there's that much like because to me this is a purely visual thing.
yeah, it is a
Like
purely
it's
visual thing.
yes, like it shouldn't have
Yeah,
that much implications in terms of accessibility.
I think I think just the important thing to note, if I'm reading this correctly, is that it doesn't automatically expose any accessibility APIs. Yeah,
Oh,
but I
okay.
might be wrong there.
Allows an element to be
It
positioned
doesn't
into.
inherently create any meaningful semantic
Yes, but I
relationship
mean
between them.
that is the case with positioning in general. Like,
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
if you're using assistive technology, you're not going to know whether something is absolutely positioned against something
no,
else that's against a relative positioned
yeah,
element.
no idea.
Um,
Yeah.
yes,
Um,
so
if you're
hmm,
using, but there is a use case for like using some kind of area or something with this, if it's a
hmm.
tooltip that's giving informational or
Oh, I see.
things like
Aria
that. Yeah,
details. Yeah.
or
Okay.
details. Uh,
Yes.
but read the disclaimer. Screen
Yes.
reader software is still learning how to deal with it. Aria details. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. The best is the screen reading stuff where they interpret stuff differently. Those are always fun. Um,
yeah,
using acquisition
yeah.
popover attribute or the dialogue. Okay, so they need that too. Cool. Yeah.
I think we've reached the
I
end.
yeah.
Just just
Yeah.
click on that link of Una's demos, though.
Demos is
So that's a
what's
whole code pen. I popped it in the chat.
oh
There's a whole bunch of
nice.
demos she's done here.
Oh, she's
Uh,
collected. Yeah, no, see, this is for other people as well.
I'll
Uh,
collect it. Collect it. I mean, there's like
yes.
loads of them. So
And good. I want to look at some of these.
there's some really
With
nice things here. Yeah.
tooltips. No. Yeah, I didn't. Some of the stuff. This is cool. I don't know what this radial. Let me check out some of this. Wow, neat. But I would assume that. So to me, this would be the type of thing that. Wait. So I would have assumed that it would actually have prevented this from happening.
Oh, the overflow.
Yes. Because it feels
Yeah.
to me that, like, I could. This is just position relative, absolute.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. This. Oh, you have to click, not hover, but it's still pretty cool. Oh no, wait.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's maybe it doesn't work that well when you. I don't know. Some of these seem. This seems strange.
They might be using old stuff, honestly.
Yeah, no. This is what. This is
Whoa.
definitely broken.
That's very broken, yeah.
So yeah. Okay. I don't know why that's okay. So maybe don't look at these examples.
They look, yeah,
Una,
oops.
Una, I know you're a big follower of the show. Okay, we don't want to embarrass you on the show. So
Yeah, but
go fix your
the fix
CSS.
your stuff.
But your article makes up for it.
Yeah,
I'd rather have you
very
write the
cool.
article than fix this. Okay. There was also something cool that I saw on that, and we probably need to start ending off, but I just want to quickly go back. Oh, one thing I just realized now as well is this probably has really big implication. You know what it is? It might be because of the iframe used on
Oh, yes.
or
This
something.
might be
I don't know,
changing.
but this does, yeah, like this seems broken. I don't know what's happening here. Is
If you
like this
open
probably
it,
also has some really cool. See, view and editor. This probably has some really cool implications. I think this seems very under. What? This is definitely not right.
yeah.
I'm clicking this. This probably has some really cool implications when it comes to things like maps and data viz.
Yes,
There's probably
exactly.
some
Yeah,
amazing data viz stuff that you can do with
mm,
this.
agreed. Yeah.
So there was, if I can go back to the article, just very, let me just do grab it again. I think at the bottom I saw something that looked like a bit of a, it might be a wizard that helps you figure out what you, this is what I assume this would be. Oh, okay, no, this is just the different, well, I guess it's a bit
It's kind of useful.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it would be like, okay, select like, okay, you want this, you want this, you want this. It might be.
Mm,
Maybe that's something I can actually create. Hey. Is like, so for example, a good one I think about is React Virtualizer, where it kind of asks you a couple of questions. React Virtualized. It asks you a couple of questions, and then it just tells you, cool, this is how you would actually do it. I could probably do something similar, but I just have no time. But where it's like, like you go like, cool, will you this? And okay, is this true? Okay, is this? And then it kind of shows you, okay, yeah. Okay.
right. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, so yeah, anyone can steal my idea. Go for it. All right. Yeah. Cool. This was
All
really
right.
fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Scott.
We
Good.
yes, we didn't get into too many physical examples, but I do also think that like we Encorium does a way better job than I
Yeah.
can possibly do in terms of communicating how to use this thing.
Yeah.
So I would just defer
Absolutely. Yeah.
to that, and I think like it's more important in terms of the things that I often see people ask about it is like these type of things, like why would you even reach for this thing, why is it worth even learning this thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, this was really
I've
fun.
I put all the links that we referred to in the chat, so they're
Mm,
all there.
mm.
Yeah, thanks, Skulk, and thanks to
Yeah.
everyone who joined.
Mm.
Join us again Monday if you're interested in Figma at all.
Yes. All right. Thanks,
I'll also
everyone.
be talking a little bit about Figma for developers, so
Yes,
worth a
I'm gonna
while.
actually
Cool.
join that one. I actually don't because I don't really do handoffs, so I don't really reach for that, and also I'm poor, so I also can't pay for developer mode for Figma. So I'm super curious about that. No, I'm not poor,
Okay,
but I'm
cool.
not. I'm not like Figma rich.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
I don't pay. I don't pay for it.
Yes. Cool. All right. Cheers, guys.